Welcome to the Wing Life Podcast, where we talk about wing foiling and the lifestyles of those who enjoy this great sport. Okay, yeah, I guess they would be.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we can start off. Where are you now, Keith?
I'm in Maui, Hawaii. Yeah.
Okay.
In Haiku, I'm at my shop and just kind of getting the day started. And yeah, usually I come in around 7:30 and get a bunch of files ready for my guy who cuts boards for me on the machine, and then I'll get in the shaping room or I'll talk. I have a shaper I work with. He's, partner. He does a lot of prep shaping for me, and his name's Adam Lewis. He's a professional windsurfer and now kind of turned, foiler and frother like us. So
nice.
Work with him, and then just kind of get the day going in the factory.
You've been doing this for quite a while. I'd love to learn a little bit more about you and how did you even start into this world? Because you play such a prominent part in it now, and be fascinated to learn a bit more about you.
Well, I guess I was born in Madagascar. I lived there 10 years, and then I moved to the Caribbean and I started windsurfing. So that's where I kind of got into water sports. I was in the Caribbean until I was about 13, and then I moved to San Diego to go to high school. And that's where I learned to surf and had kind of a passion for surfing. And every day after school, I'd go and watch a shaper shape surfboards. And he was actually shaping some windsurf boards for me at that time. And so I kind of got interested in it, but never really thought that I would be a shaper. And once I followed my passion of windsurfing, then the natural next step was to go to Maui. And so I found a way to, straight out of high school, come to Maui. And I started working for High Tech. It's a surf shop here, and they're really big in windsurfing industry back in the 80s and 90s. So I started working with them, and then about 8 years into that, I started a company, Quatro Windsurfing, with 3 friends. With Sean Ordonez, who's a local shaper as well, and then Francisco Goya, and then Jason Pryor. And once we moved into that, we kind of separated, went our own ways, and I kept Quatro and kept surfing and kept going with shapes and designs that way. From there, you just make connections with different people here, and so I was shaping windsurf boards, surfboards, and started shaping some stand-up stuff. And then I think it's been almost 10 years now, maybe a little less, where Kai Lenny came to me, and I was working with him on other boards, and he was getting into this foiling thing. And so I started making him some boards for that. And, that's kind of where the foiling really started.
Oh, cool. Okay. How long have you been shaping before that?
It's been 25 years since I've been shaping, something like that.
Oh, nice.
First it was hand shaping, and I'd take trips to Japan and different places to hand shape. And then, eventually we got a machine. Well, I started working with a local shaper, Matt Kaneshita, and his machine. And then finally got my own machine and just started evolving the shapes through machine shaping, and still plenty of handwork, but kind of gave me a good base.
Any mentors that kind of helped you kind of get started into that world?
Well, I think Joe Blair in San Diego was the one who kind of got me started as far as just watching. I wasn't there actually physically learning to shape, but I was just watching him. So, I kind of give him a bit of credit for keeping me stoked and, interested. And then, when I was starting to learn how to build boards with Sean Ordonez, he helped me a bit. And then Matt Kaneshita is a local surfboard shaper here. He was really open with his machine and advice, and that helped, but a lot of it was self-taught and just making boards and just learning and making good stuff, making bad stuff, and just learning how to do it that way.
Yeah, because you guys have a reputation there on Maui of riding the gear and loving the gear that you make, riding that gear, and then improving it based on that, where a lot of other brands I find they're pushing gear a bit more, but that's not what we get from you guys. Is that because it's a bit more passion based? Is there more to it? Because you feel more connected to your brand than other brands do.
Well, I would definitely say that, because we're all all of us that own the brand, we obviously work in it and have different roles. And we're really connected to what we're doing, because we're not going to do something just to do it. because it's going to make us money. We're doing things that we are passionate about, that I can feel like I can work on a design, I can understand it, I can write it, and then bring it out so that at least I feel like it's going somewhere and it's not just something I'm stamping my name on. And so anything that we start going into, and if we decide we're going to go into a new product, we really look at if, this is really what we want to do, because there's a follow-up, 1 year, you can make it 1 year, but then, we usually do 2-year cycles with our product, because we don't, one, it's just too much work to replace it every year. And two, I don't think there's enough, innovation to change something every year. Maybe in the beginning of cycles, it's okay. With the Dragonfly, we're working on new stuff for next year, because we feel like, I can make changes and have it feel a different way, and probably worth it enough. But in general, we would like to work to 2 or 3 year cycles to just let the product have its life, let people enjoy it, that there's a good used market, so you can get a good amount of money for your used boards because it's not changing. And just really putting a lot of time and energy into each product, like you're saying, because we're passionate about it, because we believe in it. And there's that follow-up year after year. And that's not just something that's going to go away.
No, I like that. And then, so where do you get your ideas on shapes, cutting edge, kind of new designs? Is that just based on the riders that you have? You got some pretty awesome riders riding for your team.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, I think, number one, inspiration might come from a rider. Say, Kane, we're working with Kane now, and he's got this idea for a board that's it's like a light wind wing board that's not a Dragonfly. And so we've been working on that with him, and it's amazing. So he'll come to me with the idea and kind of the general of what he wants, and then I'll put it into the program and work on the design, and then we'll make prototypes that way. And then for me, I guess the best example now is I've just went through the learning process of doing downwind paddling here. I've been doing it now about probably 3 months. And so it's been a great exercise for me to go through, because it's difficult. It's very satisfying when you get it, but it's difficult. And so it's been amazing for me to go through the process, learn, and try and understand how I can make the boards more accessible, easier, what the limits of that are, and, just kind of like where we're at with it. So it's been an amazing experience for me. And then all the wing stuff too, we'll make prototypes and I go ride it, and I'll ride it with my team, and we discuss on the beach after, or, even when we were at the show, I brought some new prototypes of the Drifter and the Ginsu for next year. Got some feedback from just the normal world, and all the riders that are there and have their feelings. And so that's been a great source. I like to have a source from riders, from myself, and from people that just aren't associated with us really, so that I get maybe a more objective feedback, as opposed to a rider who might feel like he needs to like it, or so you get to start knowing each rider and kind of their tendencies, and you can kind of read through the fluff.
Yeah, so, I guess you have to. Yeah, because your end market are people who might not necessarily be connected to the brand. They're buying it, A, because they love the brand, or B, because they just think the board is amazing. Yeah. So definitely a variety of opinions would be way to go. How was KT born? How was the name chosen? And then kind of how did that evolve?
Well, obviously KT is my initials, Keith Teboul, so it comes from that. And, originally and still, it was our surf-based brand. So it's all about surfboards and riding waves. And, as we started getting I've been into foiling since Kai brought it around. And I've been prone foiling, and then I started winging, and, now I'm doing the downwind. So originally we were going to kind of keep it separate from the surf brand, but we found that there's a good crossover between surfers and foiling. And so, it's something that we're passionate about as surfers. Look at Kai Lenny or Ian Walsh, or these guys that I work with surfing. They're very into foiling. And so there's a good crossover. So we decided just to bring the foiling products underneath the KT surfing umbrella. Okay. And so, it's been fun, and there's there's a lot of energy going into the foiling now. And, especially now that we brought on Kane, working on foils, it's exciting.
Oh yeah, no, there's a lot of new stuff. Can we look a little bit about how your boards have changed from V1 to V2 to kind of the drifter even? Because I ride the 72 drifter and I love it.
Okay.
But it's changed a little bit. It'd be kind of cool to learn a bit more about that.
Sure. I think in general, at least from my perspective in the industry and where I see things going, it's all really come from this downwind trend of longer, narrower boards. So I think in general, boards are going to get a little longer and a little narrower. And, we're going to get the stability and the glide from the length and not the width. I think width actually gets in your way to a certain degree. It's a balance. I'm not saying the drifter is going to get 6 inches longer for the same size. I'm saying it's going to get a couple inches longer.
Okay.
The bottoms are going to change a bit, more simple in certain ways, but a little more complicated in other ways. So that's kind of the general tendency I see from what the guys are needing from this whole downwind froth that everybody's on. There's some really good things about boards that are a little longer and that glide. There's a stability that comes from getting going faster than actually from width. So that's what I find, other than me, but that's kind of where we're at.
No, you guys got a good team behind you to be able to test that in awesome conditions there. So especially for downwinding, how was your first downwinding session out in Maui?
Brutal.
Yeah, I don't doubt it. It's hard, eh?
First 6 sessions are brutal, and it's still brutal.
Okay.
It's like I'm still like yesterday. I got up within like 3 minutes at Hokipa, and I made it all the way to Sugar Cove in one round, and that was the first time. So it's good.
Okay.
I'm getting it, but I'm probably 28 plus sessions in. So
that means
people
take their time then.
Yeah, my goal is to get the boards easier to use. And also I've really been starting to think about trying to create a foil that is conducive to learning as well. Because I think that the foil, there's work to be done on the foils to make this aspect of the sport easier.
I was surprised how snappy it turned, even though it was a longer board. Like I was surprised by that when I was on it. That's one thing I noticed right away.
Yeah, that's from the length. That length gives you leverage in a way that a foil likes to be turned. I don't think a foil likes to be turned with width because it takes time for it to recover. So if you have a really wide board, you have leverage on the foils, but you start turning it and then you're like, oh, shoots, I'm kind of in this turn. Now I got to go the other way. So it's delayed. Whereas if it's narrow, you have leverage from the length, which is an up and down leverage, as well as a rotational. So it's easier to bring it back. So really, you're getting a lot of control from the back and forth of being on the board like surf stance. And then you're just rolling a little bit to get the thing to turn. So it's much easier to keep yourself, going forward and then, having these rolly turns. And the fact that the boards are longer, you end up standing, I think, a little narrower and more in the middle of the board. And so it's not like you have, 6 feet of nose in front of you. You have the same nose you would on a smaller board, but you're just further up on the board in general.
Yeah, I did find that. That was one thing I picked up on it. Yeah, it was narrow and it was a bit tippy, but I was winging, so it was a little bit easier. Yeah. But I'm looking forward to trying with the paddle and see how that goes. But hey, let's take a little bit of a step back. What was your first foil experience like, and what did that make you feel? And did you think it'd grow to this?
Yeah, I went the first time with Kai. Again, I think it was probably 8, maybe 10 years ago. And we went to the South Shore, and it was more like I was just bringing him a new board to try. And I saw him doing this. I'm like, man, that's amazing. But I wasn't like, oh, I really want to do this for some. He's like, oh, you should try it. So I'm like, okay. And I paddling out, and I kind of hit the bottom and whatever. And I tried to get up, and it's so foreign because you're not riding it like you're surfing. You're not riding the surfing part of the wave. You're riding more the top or the shoulder of the wave where the power is. And so I was doing it wrong and dropping in like a normal normally surfing, and then it's just done. You can't get up. So it was pretty challenging, and it didn't bite me right away. But then as Kai was developing foils with Maui Fin Company and the Hydrofoil Company, I started, getting some desire to try it. And then, since I was making inboards and I had access to foils, I just I think it was the middle of winter and it was rainy and there was lots of messy swell. And I went inside the harbor in Kahului and I just basically learned how to prone foil. And, I took 2 weeks, put my wetsuit on every day. There was nobody around and I just did it. And, I started feeling the sensations of floating and flying and, doing these turns, and it got me hooked.
Oh, nice. How big of a foil did you learn on?
I think it was 1250, back. Yeah, it was a 1250 at that time, but a surf foil. So kind of slow.
Okay.
But the MFC foils are really nice in that they give a really nice pushback. Front foot pushback, as opposed to a lot of the other foils that were, kind of like diving and you had to work more. So I thought it was really good because it felt a little more like surfing than anything I felt.
Okay.
It
still gave you
back foot turning as opposed to back foot having to lift up. You're actually pushing down on the front and kind of pivoting around the front. So there's a cool aspect to that kind of resonated with me.
Okay. Did it feel slightly, do you think it would give you a bit more freedom than surfing, or was it just kind of a different kind of surfing, for example?
Well, I think it's more of a freedom in junky waves, and that's what's so cool about it. It has its place, and it had its place. It's like I would go, summer times are a great time to surf foil. I don't surf foil much during the winter because I'm either windsurfing or I'm surfing. Even the downwind, we'll see how much I do this winter when the surf's really good and all that. There'll be days, but it's not like now where every day I'm like, okay, what's the wind doing? What time am I going? I'm hooking it up. I have 2 new protos that are going to be done this morning that I'm just frothing to try. Yeah. And then I'll have 2 more on Monday. So it's just like, now it's like full on downwind R&D.
Okay. So you guys, can we talk about those, or is that more behind the scenes kind of stuff?
Well, it's more behind the scenes, but I mean, in general, same thing, a little longer, like I'm working on different bottoms to see what's faster, what's touching down and sticking, what's touching down and gliding. So it's just refinements. It's not like there's nothing revolutionary coming. There's a few little things that are different that are coming that I think are going to be pretty cool.
Nice.
Based on Kai's feedback, based on Kane's feedback. A little bit of everybody's in there based on my feedback of 3 months of just struggling. So,
what makes it so? Is it the narrowness of it that makes it difficult? Is it what are you finding challenging?
I think that's a good question. I mean, yeah, it's the narrowness, because the narrowness is instability. So it's bridging that gap between being able to get up onto the board and get going paddling. Once you're paddling, there's a stability that comes in because you're moving forward. So I'm trying to bridge that gap between standing up and having the thing relatively stable, but the minute you start paddling, a stability comes in. And then what's important after that is how much the board glides and how much you can keep it gliding. And then what's important after that is when you're hitting that wave in front of you, that is going to stop your momentum, that you can have that glide through that as much as possible, so that any energy you're putting in keeps you gliding, and anything you hit, you can still glide through. And then that allows you to get some momentum and get a rhythm and then get up.
Okay. Because in the winging world, I know for the drifter, the 2023 drifter, you had 2 or 3 concaves on it. Yeah. And then obviously the Dragonfly is more of a kind of like a boat kind of hull-ish.
It's a displacement hull.
Okay.
But I'll be working on both styles right now just to see which way I want to go. So I have a same Dragonfly displacement hull, just working on that, and then I have something that's a little flatter and working on that, and then that's basically what I'm testing today, is one of each. And I've been doing that for the last 2 months. So, but now I'm kind of finally at a stage where I think that, today I'm going to decide kind of which direction I'm going, or maybe I go both. We'll see.
Okay. So that'll be for 2024 and 2025 kind of thing?
Yep.
25?
Yep.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Nice. How did you come up with that kind of triple or quad concave for the 23 Drifter? I found that was not something that I saw in a lot of other boards, but the touchdown was pretty cool.
You know what it came from? Kai came to me like, I don't know, 6 years ago and said, hey, check out these guys on the air chair. You know, the air chair, they're doing all those flips behind the boats on the foils.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, we were looking at their bottoms and they were like a really solid double concave. You know, and in surfing, there's double concaves, windsurfing too. But that really is like, okay, well, let's try this because obviously it's working for them. And then I just started developing that. You know, at that time, I think the needs are changing and a lot of the freestyle winging that's going on, it's not conducive to have too many doubles and too deep, and having something that's going to slide and slip a little bit more as opposed to catch and drive.
Okay.
So in general, my bottoms are going to get a little more simple in a certain way, but more complicated as well in other ways. So
more complicated in other ways. Okay, I'm looking forward to seeing that.
And again, a lot of it's coming from what Kane knows and just can feel and is guiding me, and then I'll take that and make something, ride it with him, and then feel what he's saying, and then go, wow, okay, that is really cool. Or he brings me something that just looks hideous from my eye, and then I try and take it and sexy it up and make it look a little more like I'd like it to look with all the best things that are, you know, that are in it. Okay.
Now, do you find you get a bit of time to take in feedback from the community that's buying boards from you, other than at AWSI, to see what do they like about that?
Yeah, I do. You know, we get customers because we have a shop here, and we have customers who come in and buy boards and order boards. So I do get feedback from, you know, the community. And, you know, right now I just made Kai's parents, you know, I made Martin, his dad, 115 liter new drifter, and I'm going to make his mom a 62 liter drifter, and they're going to give me some feedback, you know? So it's like, I try and take opportunities with people we work with that have connections and, you know, their family or whatever, and just use our community to get feedback, because it really is important.
Yeah. And I think that's for me at least, because I ride for Jesse and I ride for you guys just as a kind of like an amateur rider kind of thing. And
which is great.
And for that aspect of things, it's pretty cool to have that passion driven behind it. Because that's why I love about it. And that's why it's exciting to meet the people that make the gear, because then I can get that full circle connection with it, which means a lot to a lot of us who are so passionate about the sport. So, and I had a lot of buddies back in Ottawa just asking me about KT, because I was doing some demos, and I was like, what is it? Who is it? Where is it made? Like, is the guy that's making the boards, like, what's he like? And all these questions. So it's pretty awesome to be able to put those kind of pieces together for a lot of people who have never had the opportunity to go to Maui, and it might never, but to meet you guys and to know that you have a lifetime of passion for the water. It's super 100%. Cool to be able to get out there. Yeah.
And I think that really reflects in our product more and more as we're able to like kind of hone in on what's really working for us and the direction we want to go. And, you know, that's why I got into the Downwind thing. Cause I'm like, I got to get this and just see, you know, what this is about. And right now it's the thing I'm probably the most excited about. There's nothing like getting up and riding for 25 to 30 minutes. It's like a 30-minute wave ride. And it's a great workout, you know, and you have time to just float around and think about things or just be focused, or it's awesome.
Now you do team rides out there, or you kind of do you go out by yourself that far out? And then I do go, but normally we're like 3 or 4. And sometimes, you know, I'm at the point now where I can, like, you know, with the guys that are a little better, if we get up at the same time, then we can crisscross the whole way and hoot and holler and have a great time, you know. But if for some reason I can't get up and they take off, it's okay. I really enjoy just being on my own. And, you know, it's like basically you have an endless ocean of swell and energy that you can tap into. And it's just you and the ocean, and you're just up there. It's like a magic carpet. It's like flying on a magic carpet. It really is. Yeah. Yeah.
It's
No, that
crazy.
that looks phenomenal. Did you get some time to try that out in Hood River?
I did. I went the first day we went. I went, and I struggled a little bit, but it helped me, understand what was going on with my board. Once I was up, I was fine. Getting up, I struggled a little bit, even though it is easier and you have way more opportunity there than you do here. So now I was thinking about it yesterday after my run, and I think if I were to go back now, I would have no problem. It would be easy, but that's just learning.
Yeah, no, fair enough. So how big's your team then at KT that you're working with?
Well, here in the factory, we're 9, between office and staff up front and the guys that build the boards. That doesn't include Kane and the team riders or anything like that. But
Okay, so you got 9.
we do also Goya windsurfing and Quatro windsurfing and Quatro Sup. So it's more than just KT.
Yeah, you guys do a lot then. And everything's made. So you build everything in Maui, and then where do the production boards and stuff get made?
Yeah, all the prototyping and all the masters and all the files we do here in Maui. And then I'm going to Thailand in about 3 weeks, and I'll go over there. I'll send them, I think I'm going to send them about 60 different files, and they'll cut all those boards for us. And then I'll go there and I'll shape them all. And at the same time, that's all surfing and foiling. And then at the same time, we'll go check out some new windsurfing stuff that we just did. And so, we'll be there about 10 days and, with my business partner, and just put everything in place for next year's, production stock stuff.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Did you ever think, maybe looking back a little bit, that you would ever build a name and be a part of, because I guess you guys there's such a big history there. Did you ever think that your life would take this turn and bring you here?
I mean, you when you start the business, you always hope, but then you're in it and you're like, man, this is a lot more difficult than you think. Mm-hmm. And, this vision of like, oh, I'm just going to make some, boards and put them in production and sell a bunch. It's a lot more complicated than that. And for us, it's been about the relationships that we've made and the connections we've made along the way, and just finding the right people to work with, and, having opportunities to work with, say, Kai Lenny came about. We didn't look for that. It just sort of happened, and it's the same in the surfing. I worked with Imai Kalani DeVault surfing, and he made the WSL tour one year on our boards, like a couple years ago. And, other connections, Ian Walsh, and just these connections and people that come along at the right time to kind of bring you to the next step and help bridge the gap to the next product or whatever it might be. So, whether it's a team guy, whether it's someone that joins the offices here, just everything. So more and more it's about that, the connections and the relationships that you have with people, and growing the business that way.
Okay, growing it more, organically than
100%.
Pushing.
Yeah.
Okay.
At times you have a bit of push, but in general, we've never been in a position where we just had so much budget that we could just, push. It's a much more organic growth, and, making the right choices, trying not to overproduce, and just, being aware of what we're doing and what it's doing to the market, and how we work with the market.
So I guess that's what you were saying. You were going for a little bit of a longer cycle then, to allow people to kind of make that connection with their gear in a way, instead of just being buy hungry.
Yes, 100%.
Okay. Nice.
And I think that the energy that we put into the product, reflects that it can be a 2-year cycle or a 3-year cycle, So I think it's important to design a product that's going to be, a 2 to 3 year cycle, because maybe the top guys can use those changes that you're doing every year or whatever. But I think in general, that's something that is just for the elite. And I mean, to be honest, it's available to anybody because we do custom stuff. So if somebody wants exactly what Kai's riding at this moment, they can get it. So that's why I feel like also we have a good balance of both, because we do so much R&D, so many prototypes, and just trying to make it better and this and that. And sometimes they are, sometimes they aren't. And I think if we came up with something that was so revolutionary that we needed to have it out there, then we would do it. But in general, I've never really seen something like that happen that it needed to be changed right away. And you have to be conscious about stock and shop stock. And, it's important that the whole circle works well together and that no one's getting screwed in the end for having a bunch of stock or because you're changing. So, it's again, relationships. And it's important to communicate with who you're working with and have them understand and us understand their needs and just really work with the shops and keep a clean market if we can.
Okay. Yeah, because I definitely see a lot more people, well, out east at least, like out in eastern Canada, I guess even on Vancouver Island too, we're seeing these KT wings pop up everywhere. So it's kind of cool to see that. And I'm talking to Jason, I think tomorrow, so I'll be neat to go into all that stuff with him.
Yeah, we'll go over that.
But with this stuff, yeah. So like you're even going back to the Drifter, because that's what I'm riding.
Yeah.
Your version 1 track pad, like the deck pad, was more aggressive. And then this one was a bit different. Is there a reason you guys went with the different kind of deck pads this time around compared to the last one?
Yeah, I mean, that's just customer feedback, shop feedback, people are on their knees learning and it was aggressive on the knees. And so we tried to tone it down a bit. So, we do take any feedback from anybody. We take it out seriously. I don't know if that's the right word, but we take it in and, weigh it out, see, what's of real value or not, and just kind of like weigh it out, see if it's something that we need to do. And, obviously that was something we needed to do.
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
So, yeah.
How is that? How is working with Kai and a lot of those guys? Like, obviously they're the ones pushing the boundaries.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I think for Kai, what's interesting for him is all the different craft that we do here. And also the technology that we've brought into the industry, from windsurfing, to surfing and to foiling with all the vacuum carbon laminations and all this stuff. So I think he saw the value of working with like a one-stop shop for him. Surfboards, windsurf boards, stand-up boards, guns, tow boards, foil boards. He can get it all. Sails, everything. So, and it's in Maui. Because I'm sure he could go ride for a company and, make quite a bit of money. But he saw the value of working with us and what he has access to. And so I think it's a win-win for him. It's a win for us because he gets to bring all his knowledge and his ideas and his creativity and help guide the sport, and help bring new ideas. And in foiling, he was huge in the beginning and mid stages. And even now, obviously, he gives his feedback, directions. A lot's coming from Kane too now in our own riding. But, I feed Kai prototypes all the time. And then certain times of the year is more about foiling. Other times of the year, it's more about guns. Now he's coming to me ordering 4 guns, tow boards, surfboards. So different times of the year are different times when we focus on different product with him. So it's not all year round that he's giving me foiling feedback, unless he goes out and tries something and likes it and then says, we should try this.
Fair enough.
But it's an amazing collaboration.
Okay. So, and how's Kane? That's Kane's a new
new
addition, eh?
Kane's been great. A different, really foil-centered energy. He's really knowledgeable about many different things in design and engineering. And he's just really deep in it. And it's been fun to sort of get to know him because I knew who he was and I would see him here and there. And again, that's one of those things that just sort of happened. It wasn't something like we didn't go out looking for him, but we were just kind of going along. And then, one of my business partners, Francisco, had mentioned maybe trying to work with him a couple of years ago, but it just wasn't right. We weren't feeling it, just didn't, and whatever, just let it go. And then, 6 months ago or 5 months ago, I work with his brother-in-law, Elliot LeBeau. And so I got a chance, I'm connected with him all, and he's kind of giving me the, the lowdown about what Kane's up to and just here and there talking. And And then I think I was just driving to the beach one day and said, hey, I'm going to reach out to Kane and see where he's at, maybe make him a board or something. And, just got started talking, and then, it went a little more serious, and he had just gotten out of something that he was in and was available. And we saw the value of just bringing him in for his knowledge and his passion, and he's an amazing rider. And, we were getting feedback from people that he was, helping tune their foils. And, we got some feedback from one guy, and he was like, you guys have to work with Kane. This is such and so, I respect this person. And he was buying I think he sold us 15 Dragonflies on the East Coast.
Okay.
A customer of ours, and he was just telling his friends and all that. So in the end, it just worked out, and we met, and we all, grooved, and we were able to work it out to where he could, join the team. And it's
cool.
It's not the years right now that it's an easy industry. It's a challenging time in the foiling and surfboard and water sports industry in general. A lot of
in which regard
there's a lot of overproduction from companies and a lot of dumping of product on the market. And so, it's challenging. We're trying to keep a steady road and not, again, overproduce or dump stuff on the market, and try and navigate this in a way that keeps the market healthy. So we're in for, a challenging year.
Okay. So, but I guess with the model that you have currently of building relationships, growing it organically, passion-based.
Yeah.
I feel that that's a good approach, because that's a long and steady approach. It's not the
100%.
dump $1 million into marketing and then get all these athletes to push stuff, and you get all excited, and then coming in 2026 is
I think that's most companies are whether who they're owned by or whatever, not a trust fund but a hedge fund or whatever, and they have bottom lines, and so that's the way, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's one way of doing business. That's not our way. We're not in that position to do that, and we're here for the long haul. And every day, and more, I'm enjoying this more and more. So I'm like, okay, this is it. This is where we're at, and this is fun.
Oh, that's cool. Hey, thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
What was your first wing foil session like? Could we talk about that?
Good question. I think it was in the harbor. Was it in the harbor? No, it was at Kanaha. I don't think anybody was really going in the harbor at that time yet. They hadn't really figured it out. And so it was at Kanaha, and it was bumpy. I had learned to windsurf foil first. So I had a general idea, and I was prone foiling already. So I had a general idea of, especially from the windsurf foiling, of getting yourself up with the wind and the sail. But with windsurfing, you have something to hang on to that's connected to the board. So it's a little more connected, a little easier. But I did that first at Kanaha a couple times. And then, I think I got on a 115 wing drifter, and just paid my dues and fell a lot. And then, finally you get that balance, and then you start going, and then it's really quick. Actually, it's quick to learn.
Okay. Nice.
Same with downwinding. It's quick to learn once you get past the getting up and balance stage. Once you're getting up and flying, your level goes up quick, but it's really steady and low for a while. So that first 2 weeks or whatever, that first 15 to 20 times are challenging.
Yeah, because how big a swell are you going out in at Ho'okipa there? Is it?
Some days there's, it's 2 feet, some days it's 3 feet, but actually the gorge and there's other places are actually easier to learn and better. We have stellar days, and it's very good. Often, I'm not saying, it's a more difficult swell to read and stay up on. Whereas in Hood River, the swells are really close together and steep. So you'll have a swell that comes through, and you'll have 4 chances in 20 seconds to get up, because there's one, then the next one, then the next one, then the next one. And then, another minute later, you'll have another opportunity. So it's easy, but it's also, you're rocking a little bit more. So the stability comes into play. So if you have really good stability, you're fine. But if you're still working on you standing on the board and getting forward motion, it's challenging because you're getting bucked around a lot. But then once you're up, it's really easy to go from swell to swell to swell to swell because there's always something for you to turn on and get energy. Whereas in Maui, it's a little further apart. It'll flatten out a little bit. You'll have these big humps that you kind of got to go over. But as you learn, you get good, and it's relatively easy as well.
Okay. All right. So, and then obviously there's quite a bit of exercise involved too, I assume, right?
Yeah. But I think the most exercise is when you're starting. You're falling a lot. You're paddling like crazy. You know, as you get better, you get that exercise right off the bat, and then you're up, and sure, you're pumping and you're turning, but there's times when you can stand there for 20 seconds and just relax.
Okay.
And you're just up there, and it's super cruisy. So
yeah, that'd be magic.
Yeah, and the better you get at reading swell, and so you're always generating energy and turning, and you're not having to work to get to the next swell. You're just flying from swell to swell, and so it's still a good workout, but it's nothing like in the beginning.
Okay, I guess it's an art form unto itself.
It is, but and I think that a lot of times women get it a little bit quicker than men because we just try and power through it. Whereas women, I think, are a little bit more nimble and can be a little softer in their touches. And sometimes I think that's a better way. Like the other day I did 2 runs, and the second run I did better because I was more tired and I wasn't trying to overpower anything or get up or, whatever. And I had to really focus and think about my technique. It's really technique that gets you up. Balance and then the technique.
Well, because you start knee starting, I assume, right? And then you got to bring one leg and go up from there, or how do you do it?
I mean, basically it's like, you get up on your knees, and then you get up on your feet, and then you just got to get moving quicker than not because the movement forward gives you the stability. And, the paddle, using the paddle, keep yourself up. And so
that's why you're playing with different shapes on the bottom to see what that's going to impact stability. How is that going to impact speed of glide? And then obviously when you're going to hit something in front of you.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think I think there's only so far you can go. I mean, it's always going to be a bit tippy. There's always going to be that aspect to it because it's long and narrow. There's not much you can do about it. I'm going to get it as efficient as I can to make the process easier and more enjoyable. Right now, because I get 2 or 3 emails a day for boards, and questions, and, which is normal because this is new. And, I think I'm working on something where we can set up a kind of like, I don't know if it's a guideline or just, our perspective of, a good learning process, kind of what size board to start with, maybe do this 3 times, put this foil on, at least size wise. And then from there, jump to a smaller board. Like when I jumped from 130 liter to 100 liter, I got up right away and was flying for like 5 minutes. So just the fact that I went, the big board's so big. Yes, it's giving you stability. It's getting you the stroke down. It's getting you some forward motion. You can fly for maybe 10, 15, 20 seconds. But again, the wider, bigger board is going to affect the foil more and be harder to recover. So once you start turning, it's going to want to keep going. You're kind of like, so it's more delayed, everything. So once I got up on the smaller board, I was able to oh, wow, the foil is really supporting me and I can get these quicker turns, get enough time to think about going from swell to swell. Then I go down and it's more of a struggle once you're on the water. But that just gets you better at standing on something that's unstable and learning your stroke and getting the technique down, really.
Okay. All right. So and how much do you weigh, if you don't mind?
I'm 165.
165? Okay. Mm-hmm. So you started on a 130, you did that for a bit, then you hopped down to the 100?
Yeah. I think ultimately 105, 110, 100, right in there is good, depending on, what you want to do. And in general, I'm going to be, this year I'm going to have longer, I think the smallest Dragonfly is going to be 7.4. I might have another model that's a little shorter, but that'll be the smallest Dragonfly in length. And, the 105 liter that's 7.10 this year is going to be 8.0. So I'm going a little longer.
Okay.
And then I'll have a
Fair
model
enough.
that's a little shorter, a little wider, not a lot, and a different bottom. That's the idea. And then I'll have a
Yeah.
really specific winging light wind board as well that we're developing with Kane, which we had that in Hood
Yeah. I
River.
didn't get to try it.
Too bad,
Yeah.
because that thing is
Yeah.
incredible.
Okay.
It's got all the aspects of the Dragonfly, in a little bit more of a shorter, compact package, but the same sort of forward glide. It actually was really stable once you move it forward. So that's kind of where we're going. You still be able to use the Dragonflies for downwind. I mean, for winging, but we'll have something a little bit different, similar concept, but shorter package.
Okay, cool. And could we talk about the Ginsu for a bit? Kind of curious
Sure.
about
What?
that step. Yeah, that was going to be the next board I was going to get.
Yeah, that board's super fun. I think people are a little bit scared of it because it's it's a bit of an extreme cut, but the concept works and it works well. I think you have to get used to riding it and getting up with a different sort of balance. And so if you're willing to put a little bit of time in and energy in, I think the benefits once you're in the air, the sensitivity to the foil, the release from the water, all those things are amazing. Not only that, the thing is bomber. I mean, it's a little heavy, but it's bomber. It's built like our windsurfing construction. So it's one of the strongest boards we make. So, that's an amazing concept, and it's a really, really fun board. Obviously now I'm going to, develop it. It's been 2 years. So it's time to develop that and, take the feedback we're getting from people and work on, maybe making it a little bit more balanced for in the water, because that was one of the things that people were saying was hard to get used to. Still have the same character of the release from the water and, those really nice things that the Ginsu is giving us. And you're also going to be a little closer to your foil, so it's going to give you a sensitivity. And just maybe simplifying it a little bit more, making it a little more accessible, but keeping all the best traits. That's the goal.
Okay.
But I mean, currently is awesome. And, that's what Kai uses. That's what Ian uses. That's what Otis uses. Kane has one. So, they're all using it because it's a viable board. But like anything, we're going to evolve it. And it is something that we did patent. So that's pretty cool. We patented the cut.
Okay.
So that's something that's, we worked hard on to get that. And, for almost a year, keeping it kind of under wraps and just trying to make that all happen.
Yeah, we talked a little bit to Richard there, the CEO of Ocean Rodeo, about patents, and he said it can be challenging. It's not an easy route.
No,
yeah,
it's not an easy route, but we were able to get it. I mean, we have the patent, so yeah.
Okay.
I mean, more than anything, I think it's just a statement of this is something that we've developed. We would hope that other brands would have the respect not to go down that road. We're seeing it already a little bit. Just out of respect for the fact that we went for the patent and the energy of developing something like this, because we know what it is. I don't go out there copying anything. Sure, you look at things and things are interesting, but for me to try and copy something anyway doesn't make sense, because the energy that this person put into making this product, it's their energy, their idea. They know what kind of rail they have. They know where they put the rocker point, this, that, and that. And for me to try and copy something, it doesn't work. The energy, the reason a board feels the way it does is because of the people that are involved in making it, the energy that they put in, what I know where I've been and the evolution of the shape, that's what's going to make a board feel like it. It's not me trying to copy something that's going to make it feel like that. For me, that's what's important, is just the people putting the energy into that shape and design, and then, knowing the history of it and bringing it to market. That's what a shape's about. That's going to create an iconic thing that's developed, thought out, and had a lot of good energy put into it. Design that someone's done and putting it on your own, I think, is the most lazy way to go about things. What's the pleasure of that? There's no pleasure in that. You didn't come up with it. You didn't develop it. You have no idea what it's doing other than what you think it's doing and what you're being told it's doing by whoever. So anyway.
Yeah. No, I like that because for a lot of people who are buying gear, like this sport on the consumer end is a huge passion for them. They only have a couple hours a week. They're choosing to do this, and then they're looking to buy gear. And to have that full circle, I think, is what makes it, like if you look back 15, 20 years and you're like, I was riding these boards and this is who they were, like coming back to that idea we talked about before, I feel that's super important because that's something that you can hand down to your kids and something you can pass down and just that pure energy of what you're doing, much more so. Now, how the heck did you get it so that even just the tail wouldn't snap off? Because you guys said you got to work quite a bit at just structural.
Yeah, well, again, that's just, making prototypes here. Okay. And, definitely the smaller sizes are more challenging because it's so thin, and it is a point that's all the energy is going right to that. The bigger sizes, it's not really an issue. But again, that's why the construction went the way it did, and that hence the weight, because you've really got to make it bomber. But I mean, once you're up in the air and all that, you might get on the rack and feel, well, this is kind of heavy, but at the same time, it's bomber. And once you're in the air, you really don't feel it. And the sensitivity that you get being closer to your foil is amazing. It really is. And I really found that the construction's so bomber that it's actually made the board really stiff. And so that really translates into quick movement forward, quick release. And then you have the Ginsu cut that actually detaches from the water a couple seconds sooner, as long as you've got the technique and you're learning that, and that's what I found is just this really smooth, like steady, quick release. But then we're working on that and evolving it, and we want to make it lighter and find ways to build it that aren't as weight producing, and also the cost. It's a relatively expensive board, and so I know I think people might be a little concerned with those different aspects of that board and, might be a little standoffish, but it's an amazing board and worth every dime.
Well, with these new materials in the wing world coming out, like the wings are starting to get a lot more expensive, $2-3 grand. Yeah. So now you're going to offset that with a board that the construction is there. It's solid. It's going to last. Yeah. I think it's going to kind of catch up to itself.
I think so too. People need to be understanding. Again, like I said, it's probably going to be a difficult year because there's so much product available at, cheap prices. But we're here for the long road, and we're making choices that are, I think, better for the market, at least from our perspective. And for the health of the market, the health of the shops, the health of the consumer. We really look at how, when we buy product of any sort and how it affects us, and when we have problems, how it's dealt with and all that, and really trying to bring that into the way we do things. If anybody has a problem with anything, we really try and take care of that, or, whatever it might be. So, and we're always tuning up. We're not perfect. Trying to make it better every day. And, it's cool, but it's a fun process. And I feel fortunate to be able to do this. I feel fortunate to go have 2 new prototypes that are going to be sanded right now, and my guys will get them ready, and I'll put my foil on, and at 11:30 I'll go do 2 runs on 2 new boards. I feel very fortunate to have that, and to have the team that I work with, and the partners that I have, and the team riders, and it's feel very fortunate. And
it could be that, or you're in an office in the middle of New York City, you haven't seen green space in a year. Like, it could be drastically different, couldn't it?
I guess what's so cool about foiling too, in general, is it's so accessible, especially winging. It's like you can do it in light winds. And man, I mean, we made a video, like Levi Cyber, our marketing, Instagram video guy, he made a video with Kai and Ridge and Kane in the harbor on the Dragonfly. And that just made me want to go out and fly. And I mean, those guys are on 5.0s and there's 8 knots of wind and they're flying. Yeah. And it looks so cool. And so, to be able to share that and have people access that and feel those same things, it's amazing. It's like a full circle.
And how much time do you get in the water these days?
Oh, I get tons.
Yeah? Awesome.
Yeah. I mean,
Awesome.
like the last 4 days I've gone for downwind runs, and that's, an hour and a half. Um, and then, in the next, like probably in the next 3 to 4 weeks, the surf is going to start coming. So
Okay.
anytime there's good waves to surf, I go surf for a couple hours. If it's more windsurfing, then I'll windsurf. So it's really important for me to be in the water for the
Okay.
brands and for R&D and for understanding, for, connecting with the team, whatever it might be. So again, I feel pretty fortunate. I work a lot. I work all the time. I'm working at home at night, in the morning. And, so it's just it's a lifestyle. It's a working, playing lifestyle.
Okay. Okay.
Oftentimes
Huh.
I come in on Sunday morning when the shop's closed and I do a lot of designing because there's no one around.
It'd be
So
nice and quiet.
yeah, it's nice to have that time to just focus and put all this papers all over my desk or whatever I might
Yeah.
do, or shape, or get in the shaping room and not be bothered. And
Oh, cool. Okay.
yeah,
Is there any cool new stuff coming in construction? Like how boards are being made? Is it, how do you guys do that? Because I know we talked to Apple Tree and they're doing kind of an infusion method. Are there any cool things coming, or how do you guys do it?
well, I mean, that's super cool what they're doing. I like what they're doing. We could do infusion here. I've considered it. It's really labor intensive. And we have a really good, our vacuum lambing and the way we do things, and my guys are really good. So for the moment, we're not going to shift. But, I'm always looking at materials. I'm always now looking at trying to incorporate a little bit more green materials. We're doing some stuff with flax, some stuff with some other different materials, and trying to see if we can work with those things and potentially integrate it into our stock stuff that we do out of Thailand, and really just kind of bridge the gap between what we're doing in our factory in Thailand and what we're doing here, and make it much closer. And it's pretty much the same things. There are always little parameters, but as far
Okay.
as that goes, right now, there's nothing that I see that's just revolutionary. But what's kind of nice that because of the position we're in, and the connections we have with Kai, and the connections that he might have with different companies, or being approached, or being one of the players in the industry, we do get approached by different things here and there. And I feel like if something's going to come up, it's probably going to come along with somebody interested in maybe bringing something to us that's, revolutionary, and we could collaborate. And,
Okay.
I'm totally open to that kind of stuff, because sometimes we are in our little zone and you are trying to get boards done, and we have a process and it works well and we're happy. So to shift to something else takes some energy and some thought. But that's kind of what I'm allowing myself a little more time to do now, is just focus on maybe sourcing different materials, or coming up with a different process, or trying to make the connection with our factory in Thailand a little closer from, just sending them a file. Or so I might not be doing as much shaping, but I'm working on different aspects that get me excited.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I guess natural progression, I guess you could say.
Yeah, I'd say that, and I think now, in the past, it's been more difficult because, things were super tight, and they're still tight, but we have a little bit more room to breathe, to try stuff, to try some materials, to make a board and realize, okay, the thing's falling apart really quick. It happens still. My last board was like that. So
Okay.
you live and you learn, but the only way you're going to figure it out is trying.
Yeah, I guess fair enough. That makes sense.
Yeah.
And then being open to seeing what comes and what gets brought to you, I guess is what you were saying.
Yeah, I mean, the Apple Tree guys, they do great work. I like what they do, and they're doing it well. They look like they have an organized, clean factory, and I have a lot of respect for that, because I know what it takes. And to develop something on their own like that, and their way of doing that, it's amazing. And their core foams seem like they're really cool. They don't bring in water, and but they've been able to develop that relationship with the phone company, because they're at a level where they can put some budget into it. And You know, I feel like maybe we're just starting to reach that with different things, whether it's going to be foam or, you know, I have some ideas. You know, nothing like I'd say revolutionary, but just ideas to make the product better, longer lasting, you know, maybe not quite as harmful to the environment, whatever, you know, all these little things I think are becoming more and more important to us too, to the planet, but also to us.
Yeah, that's fair. That's cool. Huh.
Yeah, so but I mean, all our packaging is paper. You know, it's all these little things that we're putting in place. You know, we're going to work with a company. It's called the New Earth Project, and they do like cardboard packaging for surfing and for shipping out boards. And then, you know, they work with Paisel and a lot of these companies. And so we're getting a lot of interest from the surf industry too, for being, you know, support there. And so just over the years about being here, being present, working with different, you know, with Kai, with Ian, and, you know, I made some boards for John and his brother, Nathan Florence. And
oh, no way.
Cool. Downwind boards, nothing surfing, obviously. Yeah. So I made downwind boards for them. They just got them and they're super psyched. And so, you know, it's just slowly but surely you create this network of connections, and it's kind of fun to sit back and like kind of watch it and be open for it to come into play.
I guess, to be where you're at now and to have put in all the hard work and time, I guess hopefully you're going to get a few seconds to look back a little bit. Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah, you do for sure. I think it's important to have a little perspective about where you came from and the work, and give yourself a little pat on the back, because it's hard in a good way. You know, it's challenging, it's hard, but it's like, but now I feel like right now is one of the most creative times that we've ever had in our company by far. From the windsurfing, the surfing, the foiling, the stand-up, on the downwind, everything. It's just like we're just on this super creative, high energy, everyday path. And I've never felt this kind of energy around what we're doing yet. So it's really cool.
Oh, really? Oh,
yeah,
nice.
It's intense in a good way. But every day I come in and we're chatting and just brainstorming this, and it's not just foiling. It's, you know, it's the surfing, you know, where we're putting the fins and this, and it's this synergy within our team of everybody sort of in the same space, and kind of feeling the whole energy moving forward, and the creativity from the, you know, the marketing to everything. So I think that's really going to come through in our product this next year. Well, these next years, but this next cycle, from the windsurfing to the foiling to the surfing to all of it, it's going to come through.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, I'm sure a lot of people would be pretty stoked to hear that, and stoked to ride that gear and bring that along, because it's an extension of your body, like, especially 100%. With these boards, like you protect them, they're in a bag, you don't want anybody touching them, all this stuff. So it's nice. Well, hey, is there anything else you wanted to touch on personally, or even about KT as a whole, that you feel people should know, or why they would maybe want to get to know?
The point about KT is just like, you know, that we are very accessible and available. If anybody needs anything, you know, a little advice, a little bit of this, we're really, really open to that. And you want something custom, we're happy to do that. You know, we have our stock stuff that's just amazing. So, you know, it's just, we're from windsurfing to surfing to stand up to big wave to tow. And, you know, we have all this that we work with and around, so that, you know, that people that want to be a part of it or access it, we're here. So that's pretty much the only thing.
Oh, cool. Yeah, that's a pretty good message, though. Yeah, that's a pretty good message. And so how have you, what's your favorite kind of surf? What's your favorite kind of surf?
My favorite kind of surf would have to be, I go to Micronesia every year. I have a friend who's started a resort down there, and I spend usually a month down there if I can, and there's barely anybody there. And my favorite surf is probably 4 to 6 feet, you know, relatively hollow, getting barrel, doing some nice turns. I actually look forward to bringing down a downwind board there, because there's going to be some opportunity to do some really good downwinders.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. And, you know, that to me is my happy place. I can go fishing, I can go surfing, kind of detached. I love to surf here and I surf every day, but I can definitely, after doing this downwind thing, I can see myself getting a little more picky about when I surf here. Good. And, maybe doing some more downwinding stuff, because I like to be on my own. I like to be surfing on my own, and then downwinding kind of affords you that. So,
fair enough.
The surf here is getting more crowded, and it's a different kind of attitude, and it doesn't always bring the best out in me, and that's not what I want. I want to have a good time and enjoy and be the best person I can in the water, and it doesn't sometimes do that. And so I'd like to detach from that a little bit and just focus on the things that bring the best out of me and that I enjoy. So
fair enough.
Yeah.
And it's a heck of a lot of learning.
Yeah. Surfing good waves with my friends and just enjoying the whole experience. That's, to me, is enjoyable.
Oh, nice. Yeah. And I guess that learning aspect is something brand new, especially relating that to your couple boards that you're going to try this afternoon. I think that's going to be a pretty fun session.
It's something new that I'm learning, but it's connected to my surfing and wave riding, because you're still riding swell and you're still turning and you're still using the same techniques to do your turn. And this allows you, one, to get your legs stronger for surfing, which I'm really excited about. Two, it gives you a chance to work on your technique because you're up for 30 minutes. And you can stand there and go, oh, I'm going to turn my foot like this. Oh, I'm going to bend my knee here. Or I'm going to bend my knees more. And then, oh, I'm going to open up my arm and do a turn here and go backside. So it just allows you to really think about things in with more time, as opposed to surfing where you get up and go, I got to go. And then you forget it all.
Yeah.
So, that gap bridging into surfing and my windsurf wave riding for me that's what makes it even more special, because it does tie into all these other things. So, and it's new and it's hard, but I'm starting to gather and get it. So it's pretty cool.
Nice. Well, yeah, we're looking forward to seeing what those prototypes turn out to be like. And
yes, I'm excited for that.
Well, hey, Keith, I just want to say thanks for taking the time to chat with me today. I know you got a busy day ahead of you, so it's super appreciated.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. All right, everybody, thanks for joining. If you have any questions, what's the best way for them to reach out to you?
They can reach out to us through the website. We get all those questions and requests and all. That's usually the best way.
Okay.
Yeah, through ktsurfing.com or Goya Windsurfing or Quatro Windsurfing, any of those ones. KT Foiling as well. You can follow us on Instagram. Get us hold through KT Surfing on Instagram, or KT Foiling on Instagram is a great place as well. So reach out. We're happy to help you with anything.
Oh, awesome. I know we didn't talk too much about Quatro, but I guess right now we're in downwind mode and stoked to see where that gets us.
Definitely. So fun. Thanks, guys.
All right. Thanks, everybody.